Pokemon has changed a lot over the years, from new types, abilities, and over 1,000 Pokemon now. There's a lot to this beloved franchise, and as someone who has been playing these games for longer than I can even remember, I still haven't finished every single Pokemon game, and I wanted to change that. So I dedicated myself to finishing every single mainline Pokemon game to learn as much as I could and see which Pokemon game was really the best. While Pokemon Red and Blue may be the beginning of it all, these games feel like they're held together by scotch tape and a mess of code that creates some interesting situations, like how you can soft lock yourself within 30 minutes of starting the game, or how I almost lost the first battle of the game because my rival wouldn't stop spamming Growl, so I was only dealing 1 HP the whole time. And I only won because of a crit, which is apparently dependent on speed stat in this game. Somehow this is the only time throughout my playthroughs where I came close to losing the first rival battle, but I'm surprised it happened at all. So without Red and Blue, we wouldn't have Pokemon today, but man, these games have not aged well. They're super clunky to play and have way too many weird decisions to make me not want to go back, especially when there's 18 other ways to play Kanto, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal are direct sequels to the original games and unfortunately still feel just as clunky to play, but the amount of improvements is insane. Gender options, Pokegear, held items, 100 new Pokemon, and an EXP bar that goes right to left for some reason. Only the essentials here. I love the new animations, the color, and the entire world feels so much more alive in these games than in Gen 1, but I still have a hard time wanting to go back to these games. And why is there a bank in this game? And the strange level curve of Johto makes this game feel like such a grind, and it kind of made me not want to play this game at all. But trudging through this game and being able to trek back to Kanto at the end, I felt relieved. But I had no time to replay through the region I had just wrapped up, so I was on to the Hoenn region. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald are regarded as some of the best Pokemon games in the entire series. While this was my first time playing through the original Game Boy Advance games, these games felt incredible. The amount of charm throughout the entire region was insane, and it felt as though every NPC I talked to was meticulously crafted into the story, something I didn't really feel with the first two generations. The rival teams of Team Magma and Team Aqua are actually pretty interesting to learn about through the region, and not just whatever Team Rocket was doing, which I don't even know what they were doing. Playing through this game, I thought maybe the hype I heard about Gen 3 from everyone online was justified, although this game is not without its downsides. I truly don't know why the HM for Cut is in some random house in Rustboro City. I don't know how I found it, and I don't know why every single HM in this game feels required to progress through to get anywhere. But no, there is not too much water, I promise. I also think some of my favorite Pokemon designs are in this generation. While Red and Blue had these abominations, nothing really stuck with me until this generation. All the starters here are so iconic and well designed, and I just really like Spheal. Like, how could you go wrong with this guy? I digress, I think this is one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Alongside Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, Pokemon released Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are Gen 1 upgrades that are basically superior in every single way, I think. Aside from the obvious graphical improvements, the vibrant music, the Pokemon animations, and features from Gen 3 make these remakes way more fun to explore. Nintendo also decided to release these games on Switch during the time it took me to make this video, so I decided to shiny hunt for a Bulbasaur because that sounded like fun. And no, I did not get it, and I'm still mad about it. Otherwise, this is just Kanto again. This is the third opportunity in 4 games to visit this region, and it's getting a little stale, unfortunately. This problem furthers itself with the 4th generation of games. Pokemon remade Generation 2 with HeartGold and SoulSilver. These games are actually really cool. The Pokemon follow you around, which they never really did anything with this again, and a Pokewalker that told people to go outside even before Pokemon Go existed, and this game looks incredible. However, as a problem we will see with future remakes of these classic games, they were a little too true to their originals. The level curve in this game was still rough, and in an attempt to fix it, they evened out the levels for the Pokemon of the gym leaders. Unfortunately, the Pokemon in the surrounding routes are extremely underleveled. Gym 6, Jasmine's Ace, is level 35, where the Pokemon in the routes around the town are around level 20. So grinding in this game becomes extremely tedious. Now this didn't make me not want to play this game because Johto looks incredible and is super fun to explore here, but it only extenuated the strange feeling I was getting from playing through all these games. Before that existential crisis though, we move on to another one of the widely considered all-time Pokemon games, Pokemon Platinum. I have played this one before, unlike Emerald, and revisiting this game was awesome. This game fixes the slow battling that Diamond and Pearl had, along with adding tons of new content like the Distortion World, the Battle Frontier, and more than 2 fire types, so Flint, the fire type trainer, doesn't have a Driftveil on his team. Sinnoh is one of my favorite regions to explore. It has one of the most interesting battle mechanics changes compared to the previous games with the physical special split, and this game's atmosphere is just so calming. The snow on the ground of Platinum, the theme of Twinleaf Town, and just how the game opens you to its world. Barry is immediately introduced to you and you know exactly what type of person he is. After an hour-long walk between houses, you try to go into the tall grass without a Pokemon, get stopped, get a Pokemon, lose your first battle to missing 1 attack, and then you get the running shoes so you don't walk at a literal snail's pace. Awesome. Although I loved adventuring through Sinnoh, I felt as though it was getting stale to some degree. The same basic storyline with only different Pokemon in different towns and different people to visit. It wasn't boring, don't get me wrong, I just think I needed something fresh by this point. Pokemon Black and White are amazing. The story, the characters, the Pokemon designs, the sprite work, the music, oh my god. If I can be honest here, and this is not a joke, I don't know how much I can talk about this game without being biased because I played this game literally dozens of times as a kid. I don't even think I understood the story, I just thought he looked cool. And apparently I was terrified of Zekrom, like, to an excessive degree, but I'm getting off track. Sky Arrow Bridge is one of my favorite places in Pokemon, period. Every Pokemon looks so cool in this game with all their new animation. The characters are so well written and so interesting to learn about. The triple and rotation battle systems in this generation are so cool, so why didn't they do anything with them after that? I really don't know if anything can top this one. Pokemon Black and White 2 are phenomenal in every sense of the word, and yes, this video is just glazing Gen 5, but it deserves it. I had not played through these games since they came out back in 2012, and this basically improves on everything for Black and White 1. Didn't like not being able to catch the older Pokemon throughout the journey? Well, now you can. Wanted to see where the old characters in N1 at the end of the first game? Well, there he is, and oh, there he goes. Well, that's okay. There's also an insane amount of side content and things to do. Pokestar Studios, Join Avenue, a whole tournament to fight past trainers again, and even 255 different medals to collect. This was the pinnacle of the DS era of Pokemon, and the sign that the series was going to change with the next game. The first mainline 3D Pokemon game released in 2013 with X and Y, and I adored this game. The main difference when I first played this game compared to Black and White as a kid was that I simply learned how to read, so I could actually understand what's going on, kind of. Mega Evolutions are the first of many different battle gimmicks that Game Freak introduced, and it was a fascinating way to spice up these battles that had been the same for nearly 20 years at this point. Some of the designs of these reimagined Pokemon are really cool, and others, well, aren't, but I overall really like the Mega Evolutions. And while this is the first mainline Pokemon game to be in 3D, I find it to look really rough around the edges and in some ways feel like a step back from Black and White 2. I don't really have the same complaint with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. This is by far my favorite remake of any Pokemon game. Flying around the world on Latios or Latias is an unforgettable experience. The addition of Mega Evolutions throughout the region made it fun, and the additional post-game story made me actually care about this Pokemon I basically knew nothing about. Unfortunately, talking about remakes is pretty difficult because they all are basically the original games with updated graphics and the refreshed battle mechanics, types, abilities, items, and everything like that. But that would not be the case with Generation 7. Pokemon Sun and Moon were a big change for the series, fully changing the gym system to these Kahunas and Totem Pokemon. These were super fun and creative, but every time I'm close to beating them, they just send in support, so I spent 30 minutes on this battle made for children. At least the story's fun, right? Well, eventually. The beginning hour of this game is just cutscenes. This game feels more like a traditional RPG than a Pokemon game. Yes, we can catch these silly little monsters, but the gameplay leans so far in a different direction compared to the prior 11 games that it doesn't really feel like Pokemon. The Z moves are really cool, and having to unlock them through the Totem Pokemon was interesting, but if I have to sit through an hour-long cutscene section before exploring, that doesn't entice me to play this game. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were the first Pokemon games since I was introduced to this franchise that I did not finish on my first playthrough. Up until this challenge, I had only gotten to the third island and my team looked like this. This game is really fun as an RPG and is basically the same as the first ones. This isn't a bad thing, but these games released in back-to-back years, and I was really confused as a kid why I thought this game was so boring. I had spent over 100 hours in Moon and I had to do it all over again a year later, so I wasn't as interested in going back. Ultra Necrozma is really cool though. Thankfully, Pokemon decided to give us another Kanto remake in the form of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. This game is awesome and it looks incredible. Yes, the catching looks like Pokemon Go, but I think that was the point. This game is not for the person who has played the last 12 Pokemon games back to back to prove a point. Oops. This is more like the game you give your 7-year-old cousin that keeps messaging you about the newest thing they caught in Pokemon Go, and it does a great job of that. The graphics are probably the best since Gen 5 and the best on the original Switch by far, and it works so well as the only port for Kanto on the Switch. Well, at least the next game isn't a remake. Pokemon Sword and Shield are in a very awkward spot for me. I really like their attempt at the open world, but revisiting this game after over half a decade, I don't remember as much as I thought I did. The towns weren't as memorable as I thought they were, and the areas felt very generic, which isn't something I was expecting from a Pokemon game. When I first played through this game, I was honestly bored, and that's really reflected in the limited amount of content I made with this game. It felt like a grind that led me not to revisit the game much after finishing the main story. Even the DLC didn't captivate me enough to complete it, and having such a rotted connection with this game made exploring this world again pretty stale. Although I did still have fun, and the story, while being pretty simple, was captivating, and made some of the foreshadowing in the future games more intriguing. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are one of the most universally hated Pokemon games, and unfortunately for good reason. It's an okay game, but when the Pokemon look like this and there are no improvements from Platinum in these games, I unfortunately can't bring myself to play this. But at least I got a shiny in this game. I just vastly prefer Platinum and the sprite work from the DS era, especially when there's a much more fascinating game in Sinnoh on the Switch. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the most interesting and groundbreaking Pokemon game. Even if it looks like a game ripped from the PS2, this game is incredible, and replaying it 4 years later was amazing. The new catching mechanic was the perfect deviation from every other game before it. The combat system was a really cool attempt, but ultimately I think it fell short a little. And the story was super captivating, and these areas were pretty unique and fun to explore with all the different Pokemon you could ride. It was, in every sense of the word, exactly what I was looking for in a Pokemon game. Something unique to the series that was exactly the breath of fresh air I felt I needed to find the passion I had for the series again. At least, that's what I thought. Coming off the high that was Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet looked promising to me. It was the biggest open world and the most freeing Pokemon I had felt, paired with some of the ideas from Legends Arceus made this game fun, but I still felt disappointed my first time playing. The catching was clunky and slow compared to the seamless way I had learned from Arceus, and the story was very slow as it was strung out across 3 separate storylines that all convened in a pretty satisfying way, to be fair, but it takes a while for it to get to that point. The new Pokemon are really cool, even this one, and the enhanced graphics and performance revisiting this on the Switch 2 was very welcome. After Scarlet and Violet, there was only one game left, Legends ZA, a spiritual successor to Legends Arceus that followed the same formula set in Lumio City in Kalos. This game exceeded every expectation I placed on it. It's not perfect, but revisiting the city and the characters after all this time was exactly what I needed. I initially wanted to play these games because I was feeling more and more detached from the series that had been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Ever since Sword and Shield, I have felt like playing through these games is more of a grind than anything else. And as I played through these games again, I realized that I was chasing that feeling I got when I was 5 years old blindly playing through Pokemon White. And that type of magic isn't the same when so much has changed for both this game series and myself. And it sounds so silly when I say watching this thing about catching silly little creatures that has always been a part of my life change in front of my eyes really changed my mindset and made me question how can I grow and what that even means. I really didn't expect to have such an existential crisis from playing Pokemon games about befriending silly little creatures, but here we are. Going through every generation reminded me of something from my past, and I think that's why the series is so special to me and so many other people around the world, and it's just something that cannot be replaced. And with that, I completed every mainline Pokemon game. For now, and if you want something to argue about in the comments, well, hey, there you go.